Are you ready to take back control of how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your body? If so, this is the perfect video for you, because today I want to talk about how you actually go about managing the things that trigger you to feel negatively towards yourself. So I am Natalie, I'm a body image coach, and this channel is all about building up your self-worth, your self-confidence, your self-esteem outside of your physical appearance. Okay, so today we are talking about how to manage your triggers, your internal triggers, your external triggers, everything that is going on for you. I want to talk about how you start to take those steps, because we all know that as we go through our days, day to day, so many things influence how we feel about ourselves. Our thinking, what we see around us, what we hear, our self-talk, our environment. It is all really, really important. And sometimes knowing how to manage all those things can be really, really overwhelming. So today I want to just break it down simply and leave you with some things you can go away to start doing that'll help you start taking control of those. So as a first off, look, if you feel like at the moment you don't know what all your triggers are, I suggest you go and watch this video first and have a look at how you can identify your triggers, and then come back and watch this video. So if you do know your triggers and you're staying with me, then what I want to do is I want to ask you how much control you feel you have over those triggers right now. Maybe you feel like you have none. Maybe you feel like you have a little bit over some of them. But today I want to put something forward to you, and bear with me, that you can control all of them to a certain degree. So stay with me on that one. If you're screaming at your screen right now, do not worry, I will explain what I mean by that. So as humans, we will generally react to any situation either proactively or reactively. And there will be some triggers that you have at the moment that you can work through yourself, and some that maybe you feel that you can. There'll be some that you feel like you can maybe reduce a little bit, or even some that you feel like, actually, I could probably eliminate those triggers altogether. And there's going to be those triggers that it doesn't matter what we do, we cannot control them coming into our lives. We can't control what your friends and family put on social media that you might see. We can't control what they say. We can't stop the diet industry at this moment in time. Maybe, hopefully, in the future we can. If enough of us build a positive body image, they will have no victims anymore. But for now, they're still going to be there. And we can sit and we can blame them, and we can say, this is why I feel this way. Or we can take control back. Okay, we can control how we react. So basically, that's what I want to focus on first. Okay, being reactive, which is basically just how we respond when we get faced with a trigger. And we can do whatever we want. I can guarantee you, probably at least once every day, you're going to get triggered by something. So look, maybe right now, if you're anything like I used to be, when you experience a trigger, maybe you react by getting upset. Maybe you get defensive. Maybe you start to talk negatively to yourself. Maybe you don't go out on a night out. Maybe you get into arguments. And that's not helpful for us. That just makes us feel worse. And it can feel like we don't have control over that. Like we don't have control of that reaction. It's so impulsive. It just happens. But we can slowly start to build our resilience and start to build our ability to change our reaction. Because our reaction is a choice. You might not feel that way right now, but it is a choice. There will always be things that happen in our lives that we are unable to control. Okay, negative things might happen around us and we can do nothing about that. That is life. But what we can do is start to take that little bit of control back, because we can't predict life. But we can start to react differently when things come up. So things that we can do in situations like that are, perhaps you can walk away and not get involved. Okay, don't get involved in the diet chat. Don't get involved in the body shaming that might be going on. You could set a boundary with someone if it's right to do in that moment. And if you would love to see a video on boundaries, then let me know in the comments and I can make sure I do one of those, because boundaries are so important when it comes to managing our triggers, and I'm going to come into that a little bit further on in the video. But mainly, when starting to think about managing our triggers, we've got to learn to be kind to ourselves. We can't shame ourselves for getting triggered. No one has ever changed how they feel about themselves by filling themselves with guilt or shame or blame. That does not help. So we've got to work on our self-compassion. We've got to work on slowing down a little bit and taking a moment before we react. You could do that with breath work. You could take a couple of minutes to just reframe that situation and ask yourself, okay, how else could I react right now? How else could I view this situation? What would I like to do next? So that is obviously how we can change our reaction. Now, on that basis, what we're doing is we're waiting for a trigger to happen. Now, the best way to obviously manage our triggers is to be proactive. So being proactive is more about learning to control ourselves, control our thinking, our behaviors, our feelings, and our environment, rather than just responding at that split second when a trigger happens. So I want to share 4 things with you today that you can start doing, that you can leave this video, go away and start doing, that is going to help you to start to manage your triggers. The very first one is, I want you to become aware of what all of your triggers are. Not just 1 or 2 of them, what all of your triggers are. And again, if you need to spend a little bit of time with that, go and watch this video and it will help you to do just that. The second thing is self-care. I know we hear it all the time, self-care, 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 but it is really, really important. And look, starting to learn to properly take care of our bodies and our minds not only will help you to become more resilient in the face of the triggers we can't manage, but it'll also over time help us to take the power back from a lot of our main triggers. So in the self-care, I want you to check in with how are you sleeping? Like, one of the big common things that comes up with people I work with is poor sleep habits, which then impact their days, you know, the times that they're awake, who they're interacting with, but it's also impacting their moods. You know, as I said, if we're tired, okay, if we haven't got enough sleep, we can't think straight, we can't concentrate, we are more likely to default to the negative. So actually getting decent sleep is really, really important. I also want you to nourish your body. Look, quite often when we aren't happy with our bodies, we are on diets. And what that means is restriction. And restriction often comes with not giving our bodies enough fuel to do things. And again, that's going to impact it, not only just how we feel, okay, but we're not going to think straight. Our body's not going to have the energy to do the things we want to do. So nourish your body properly. Okay, we're not here to starve our bodies. We're not here to restrict our bodies. We're here to listen to our bodies and give our bodies what they need. Okay, so obviously moving on from that, move your body in any way you enjoy. You don't have to hit the gym. You don't have to go and pound the streets running. You can dance. You can do yoga. Okay, housework, if you really enjoy that. I don't. But housework is movement. Okay, just move your body. So often in society now, we are sat down a lot, okay? We are quite immobile. So consciously take the effort. You know, if you have an office job, constantly take the effort to just get up and move your body around a little bit. Go for a quick stroll. Ideally get out in nature, because nature is proven to influence how we feel, okay? And to lift our mood. It's a massive mood booster. So if you can do your exercise outdoors, even better. Now, another thing that I found really, really useful, but I found really hard as a self-care thing to do is quite often when we struggle with negative body image, we have a lot of thoughts. Okay, I don't know about you. We have a lot of thoughts, mainly negative ones, and they go around in our heads all the time. And the self-care I want to talk about here is calming the mind. You can do that through breath work or do it through meditation. Just some kind of stillness where we're not trying to be busy, we're not trying to distract, we are sitting with ourselves. Now, I found this really, really difficult to do. It was uncomfortable, and I always felt like I was doing it wrong because my mind would go off and I'd start thinking negative thoughts, and even sometimes actually criticizing myself because I felt like I couldn't do meditation. It was another thing I couldn't do. But we've got to just try and do it, because actually being able to sit with our thoughts, okay, because meditation is not about getting rid of our thoughts, and that's what we think sometimes. Oh, I'm having thoughts, I'm doing this wrong. It's about recognizing that we have thoughts but not allowing them to penetrate our minds and take over, and that's what we want to get to. So doing things like meditation and breath work is a really good self-care thing to try and do, and you don't have to sit there for hours on end. This could be just 5 minutes a day, just taking a moment out. You could do it on the bus, just tune out and do some slow breathing. So obviously there's lots of different self-care that we can do, but honestly, if you don't make time for yourself at the minute, start to make time for yourself. And if you don't know what type of self-care would be good for you and maybe different ideas to focus on, then let me know and I will make sure that I cover some videos on how to actually identify what self-care would be good for you right now. So look, following on from that are boundaries. Okay, so the third thing that is going to really help you from today, if you work on to manage your triggers, is to set boundaries where you need to set boundaries. And look, I know whenever I say boundaries to people, their body contends because they are hard. It's hard to set boundaries. It's difficult. And these might be boundaries around your time. It might be boundaries around conversations that are happening, comments that people make. But we've got to do it. Because if we don't, then what we're doing is we're allowing all these things in. Okay, we're not putting ourselves first. So I want you to really think today about what boundaries could I set that would improve how I feel about myself, or that would allow me to do the self-care that I want to do, that will help me to feel good about myself. Because sometimes the boundaries that we're putting in place aren't direct boundaries. So sometimes they are, and it's setting a boundary about comments about diet chat, or having that conversation with a friend who's always body shaming themselves, you, or somebody else. And that's a direct boundary related to your body image. Okay, but sometimes it's indirect ones. So setting a boundary with someone that will allow you to get out for a walk, that will make time to meditation. There's so many different types of boundaries. And what I want you to invite you to do is have a think about what your boundaries need to be. So a great way to do that is just having a think about, what am I not getting time to do? Or what do I find difficult to do that's going to help me change how I feel about myself? And why is that happening? And in there, you might be able to pick out some boundaries that you could set. But the key with setting boundaries is you need to be clear on what that boundary is. If we don't know what the boundary is, we can't expect someone else to understand that boundary. So make sure before you actually approach that person, if it is a boundary with someone else, it could be a boundary with yourself, but approach that person and be really clear on what that boundary is. Communicate it to them effectively. Be clear, be simple. So when we're setting a boundary with someone else, okay, we need to let them know, this is a boundary that I want to put in place. This is why that boundary is important. Okay, this is the impact with that boundary not there. Okay, this is how I'm feeling. This is the impact it's having on me. But now, most importantly, as well, is, so I would really appreciate it if, okay, and give them a new behavior. Let them know what it is you want them to then do, because it can seem obvious to us. It really, really can. To other people, it's not. And then they don't know how to react around us. They don't know how to behave. They don't know what they can say and not say. Okay, what they can do and not do. And it leaves a really awkwardness in relationships sometimes. So just make sure that you know the answer to all them questions before you approach someone else. And we've got to go in with the aim of not attacking. Okay, because that person who maybe is having a diet chat, they're struggling, okay? What's happening is they're in a similar place to you, okay? They have a belief, they have thoughts, they have opinions about how they should look, and they're still trapped in that. And it is amazing that you are making the changes, that you are making the shifts. And it'd be great if they did too. But until they're ready to be in that place, they're just exactly where you used to be. So have compassion with them as well. Remember that when we set a boundary with people, they're probably not going to remember to do it. And that's not necessarily to mean that they are purposely ignoring us. Maybe they are sometimes, and we have to set a firmer boundary, but quite often it's just that's someone else's default behavior. So when they start talking about diets over the dinner table again, they're not trying to trigger you. They've just forgotten, and that's their default conversation because that's been their life for however many years. So we've got to be patient with people when we set boundaries with them, that they're not automatically going to remember to set this boundary. We will cross it sometimes, and all we've got to do, instead of being defensive or getting angry because we feel like they're not respecting us, is to just remind them gently and kindly. And the last one I want to talk about, which is a really, really important one that I want to go into, is our social media feed. A lot of us are on social media these days. Maybe we spend a lot of time on it. I don't know if you've ever checked your settings to see how long you spend on social media. I once did that and it was quite frightening. But, you know, we spend a lot of time on there. So what are you looking at? Okay. What platforms are you on? What are you looking at? Who are you seeing? What are they saying? What are they promoting? Okay. Really check in with what you are looking at. Because we think that just by scrolling down Facebook or scrolling down Instagram, we're not getting overly triggered. Okay. Maybe you do. But even if you think, oh, I just see it, I'm not really engaging with it, it is subconsciously going into the back of your mind. So really, really, I invite you today to go and do a little audit of your social media, check in with who you're following, check in with what you're looking at, and see if there's any little tweaks that you could make which are going to help you to manage those triggers. If you think social media is quite a big thing, I would absolutely love you, and I would encourage you to go and watch this video here on 3 questions that you need to ask yourself to see if maybe you need a social media detox. And that could be a massive change that you could go and do today that will help you to manage your triggers. And look, the last thing I want to mention today is just to keep it simple. Pick one thing at a time that you want to focus on, okay? One trigger that you want to manage. And then set goals around that trigger. How are you going to do it? How will you do it? What steps are you going to take to do that? And do you need support to do that? Do you need help of someone to be able to manage that trigger and to make that change? And do you know what? If you feel like there are a lot of triggers at the minute and maybe you don't know where to start or you don't know how to manage them and it's too overwhelming and you want support to do that, then I want you to check out the link below on the Body Image and Beyond membership. Now, this is a monthly membership that I run where we go into all aspects of triggers and things that arise when we're trying to improve our body image, because there are so many things and we deep dive into so many different areas. We talk about our daily habits, okay, how to change our daily habits, how to build self-compassion, how to build self-confidence, how to change our thoughts and beliefs and actually set goals that we can stick to, how to manage emotions that come up and how to deal with those feelings. And on top of that, you know, we have live coaching where you can come and you can talk to me and the other ladies about exactly what's going on for you and get help there and then, okay, and leave that coaching session with a next step that you're going to go and do and feeling more confident in doing so. If that sounds good and you want to be part of that community, go and check that out. I'd absolutely adore you to come in and join us in there. But for now, I would love you to let me know in the comments as well what came up for you during this talk. You know, what triggers are going on for you? What are you struggling with at the minute? What are you struggling to manage at the minute? What are you feeling like you need that bit of help on? Because not only can I help support you in that, but you'll also see by other people's comments that you're not alone. You know, we think we're struggling alone and that certain things we're struggling with more than other people. When we come together and we share it, we see that we're not alone, and that is absolutely powerful. So I would love you to share that with me. And again, I would love you to come and check out the membership. But for now, I want you to have a great day. I want you to make some time for yourself. I want you to take care of yourself. And I want to remind you that you are so much more than a body, and you are worthy of every single thing you want. So until next Wednesday, take care of you. Mwah.